Right, Ollie, we did have a guest planned, one of our AFLW stars lined up for tonight, but it hasn't come through. But fortunately, we've probably got plenty to talk about anyway, with a big win, our best performance of the year,
Heaps.
and Josh Schache news as well. How are you going tonight, mate?
Very well indeed after that weekend.
Mm,
That last week couldn't have gone much better.
no,
And people that say footy's just the game, they're absolutely kidding themselves
yeah,
because my weekend just changed dramatically.
yeah, for sure.
And for the first time in, 9 weeks to have a win, it was just such a good feeling. And just the way we played,
Mm.
it was really, really good to see. And just that enthusiasm around the group, it was just really infectious. And yeah, it was just such a good win. We played so well.
It's amazing how much of an impact it does have in your life, because you just know when you
Yeah.
walk into work on a Monday, you just have a completely different mood. You don't want to talk to certain people like the Collingwood supporter in the corner or whatever. You just, yeah, it gives you a whole new approach. It's quite sad, but it's also a beautiful thing about footy as well. So we'll be all smiles this week heading back to work. But yeah, we'll start with, obviously we won by 57 points, got out to a good start in the first quarter, then the rain sort of set in. It came to bit more of a scrappy game, but I thought even though the wet weather set in, we still were really classy with our ball movement.
Our ball movement was absolutely terrific. And I think that was something we worked on during the break. It was probably, at times there, it was just the best bit of ball movement I think we've seen probably for really 4 years since Voss's last year when we had that good patch there towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
We were just moving the ball so well and not panicking going inside 50. I think that's been a bit of a problem in recent weeks, that when we do have the ball, we just panic and there's just no direction there. It's just a big long kick inside 50.
Yeah.
But on the weekend, we're able to spot up targets, just think through our ball movement going in, but just down the whole field as well. The back end was really solid, really assured down there, and it was terrific to see.
I think another point was our ability to run in waves. There was always the outlet option, and Freo just didn't chase hard enough, I think, and didn't apply enough pressure. And I think we had, 100 plus possessions. Don't quote me on that, but we also out tackled Freo as well, which they'd be pretty disappointed in. Which does lead me to my next point. They were coming off a 6-day break and obviously travelling across the country. Do you think, and we came off the bye, do you think that factored into the performance and the output of both teams as well?
Oh, maybe a bit, but I think just the week we had, obviously Josh Schache re-signing, I think they just gave the whole group, the whole club, a massive boost. And Alden Maramanausis has reported something on the ABC on Sunday, doing just a review of the whole weekend, and he said something about Schache, and basically, Fagan had gone to Schache after the game and said, "Well done, young man. You played a small part in this win today. Your signatures put a smile on everyone's face around the club." And I think it was just a weight off everyone's shoulders, because it just played such a massive part during the week. For weeks on end, probably the whole season. And then that was sort of the release we needed.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
there was just that freedom. We went out there and played terrific footy. Yeah, people are always going to say, Freo, they've got the longest road trip in the AFL and they're coming off a 6-day break, a hard game against Collingwood. So, it might have come into it. But I think right from the first contest, I could tell that we're on. The way, I can't remember who attacked that first contest, but it was the best I've seen for a while, and I thought, went for a pretty good day here. And we were really switched on, and I don't think Freo can really use that as an excuse, but some people will. But we've just got to take that win because we played really good footy.
It wasn't just the quality of the footy as well. Like we've seen in patches and in quarters that we've played excellent footy, but it was the consistency, wasn't it? The ability to go through 4 quarters. There was probably a patch where Freo kicked 3 straight goals, but even then the game was sort of a bit beyond them. But by far and away the most pleasing performance of the year, and good to finally get a win at the Gabba. You and I had sort of tossed up the idea that it was becoming far from a fortress that we want it to be. But, we'll move on to the individual efforts, and I'm going to start by throwing up Zorko. I thought he was magnificent and certainly got us going in the first quarter. He actually had an AFL best 10 contested possessions in the first quarter, which is a record, and finished with 30 touches, 2 goals, 1, 10 and 5 tackles as well. So a fair game from him.
Oh, amazing game. And he was terrific before the bye as well against Collingwood. I thought that was one of the best games I've seen him play, and he probably will get a vote in that game, even though it did get beaten pretty easily. Same with Beams. And again, they were both sensational. And to have Rocky in there as well, our first game back for a few weeks, that midfield looks really imposing when they're up and about, and you've got other guys helping around the contest as well. I know there was one stage there where none of those guys are in the middle. I think Archie Smith, Matheson, and there were a couple other guys in there as well that are not first choice in the midfield, but they were still able to compete. And there's been no question about those three and what they can contribute. It's just the help they're getting, and they got that on the weekend, and you really saw them shine. And Zorko, he has to be considered an All-Australian at this stage. He's been so consistent and he's starring, and finally he's being talked up in the Melbourne media for what he is, and he's a star.
I love the commentary line people are constantly using the last few weeks. Is like, if he was Victorian, he'd be, a superstar. It doesn't matter where he comes from. He's a superstar. He's awesome.
He's a superstar.
It's just ridiculous, this Victorian bias. But anyway, hopefully he does get a look in for All-Australian honours, at least the squad, because he certainly is in that category. And, to have more than a goal a game and, the 30 touches, and also the defensive side of the game as well, he's been huge for us.
No, he's such a well-rounded player now to be in the midfield getting 30 possessions every week, tackling, clearance work, and kicking goals as well. Yeah, you can't really ask for much more from a midfielder.
I think at the back end of his career, we're going to have some pretty exciting years when he's just playing as a forward pocket, and we can just watch him,
absolutely.
Crumb Josh Schache and Eric Hipwood up forward. It's going to be fun to watch. You mentioned Beams, who was prolific again with 36 touches. I thought another big game in what's been a very good year for him. Louis Taylor kicked 4 and probably could have had 5 or 6, but finished with 20 touches as well. He was pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's been great this season, Louis Taylor. Obviously, rising star a few years ago, probably stagnated a bit, didn't go on to the heights that we might have expected from him, but he was terrific on Saturday night. And like you said, he should have finished with 5 or 6. There was one goal he tried to go for the dribble kick, and Fagan absolutely lost it in the coaching box, as I think most supporters did as well. But he'll learn from that, and I'm sure Fagan will be speaking to him this week about that and just say, you had a really good game, mate, but just listen to Jason Dunstall and kick it in the air. Don't want any of that dribble rubbish. Just kick it in the air.
Another player I thought had their best game for the club was Jake Barrett. He finished with 2 goals, 2. Again, like Louis, probably could have had 3 or 4, but also had 24 touches. Really applying that defensive pressure up forward and getting some nice rewards with a couple of goals as well.
Oh, Jake Barrett's been such a great pickup, and you know what you're going to get from him.
Yeah.
He just attacks the footy really hard, and he never stops trying. He's just one of those really tireless workers, and when he gets an opportunity, he usually finishes. I think it was in that second quarter there. He marked right on the line, had a really tough snap.
Good snap, yeah.
And was able to convert it. And he's very smart around goals. It gives us that defensive pressure. And he's just getting better and better every week. And, considering we got him from GWS for not much at all, he's been a superb pickup.
Yeah, great pickup off the rookie list. And I think you can see where the improvement's going to come with him. He just needs to be a bit cleaner and take his chances. Yeah. And, he's only played the handful of games this year, and that's going to come with experience. It's like what we see with Hugh and Jared Berry. Just because he's been in the system a few years doesn't mean he's not young. So, plenty of good signs to look forward to there. Any other individuals that you wanted to highlight before we move on again?
Yeah, probably McStay and Mays.
Yeah.
They're ones as well. I was talking to Morgs on Twitter, and he mentioned some of those guys, McStay, Mays, Nick Robbo. They've just really come a long way under Leppich, and I think Mays especially, I thought he was going to be a genuine superstar in that first year under Boss. He was terrific and showed some really good signs, and Yeah, there was the contract negotiations there that probably halted him back, and supporters probably thought I was going to leave, and he wasn't playing the best footy, got dropped a couple of times, but I think he's come along such a long way, and he's been developed properly now.
Yeah, for
Fagan.
sure.
And I think we're seeing the benefits of that. He had a really good game on the weekend, efficient with his ball use, and just really smart player.
I couldn't agree more. The whole defensive group I thought was awesome. Like Harris Andrews gave Cam McCarthy a complete bath. Nick Robbo, as you said, Mays, Darcy Gardner was good. Ryan Lester had some time in defence as well. It was pretty good. And Paparone mopping up as well. I still don't quite understand Paparone's role, but he's sort of does his job, and he's pretty effective at it. So give him the benefit of the doubt there.
It's hard to fault anyone from the weekend, really.
No.
It was just a genuine team performance, and like we were talking about before, it was the first game for the year where we just did play, and there wasn't a dramatic drop-off for 10, 15 minutes that was going to cost us the game.
Yeah, that's right.
There were a few times there, probably in the second quarter, where I thought, here we go again. And, the second quarters has obviously been just terrible for us the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But we're able to regroup every time, not have that dramatic drop-off across the board for 10, 15 minutes where it gets away from us. And I think everyone stood up, and they should be really proud of themselves for how they played. But at the same time, that's the level they can get to now, and I think that's going to give them so much confidence going forward.
Yeah.
Fremantle was in the 8.
Yeah, that's right.
For the weekend. They didn't have the best percentage, didn't have the greatest run, but they're still in the 8. They're still capable of playing some good footy, so it's a great win, and 57 points. Yeah, they're going to take a lot of confidence out of that, hopefully, and for the back half of the season.
No, you bang on about the spreading the load thing. I mentioned to you off air that I don't feel good about, playing two rucks with Archie Smith and Steph Martin, because Steph does so well one out, but I thought both of them were great, and especially Archie as well up forward. He sort of has, the double efforts and looks pretty good in the air. And back on the point of spreading the load, like Eric Hipwood, our focal point, kicked one goal, and we've kicked 120 points. So, definitely pleasing signs there. To say we needed it would be an understatement. It's been a tough few weeks, and it seems like the bye...
I think everyone's needed it.
No, for sure. And it seems like the bye came at a really good point for us. And hopefully we can get some more bright spots in the back end of the season. We've got Port next week, and I think some other tricky games like a Geelong might be coming up as well. GWS, yeah. So Port, GWS, and then Essendon, actually, at Etihad. So... hopefully a few more upsets on the horizon. Moving on to the other massive news story of the week was Josh Schache. It was a bit of a surprise when it came through. Sort of out of nowhere, the communication had been, just putting it off. And then, what was it, Thursday at my desk? I nearly fell off my chair. So 2-year contract extension for him is really exciting news for the fans, isn't it?
Yeah, it was definitely unexpected with the timing. I don't think anyone really saw it coming on that day and as soon as it did. We thought maybe a few weeks there might be some sort of decision at the end of the season.
Yeah.
But I think this is a really good example of supporters not buying into all the media speculation around.
No, for sure.
Just with how big AFL media is now, you've got Fox Footy, you've got 24-hour news cycle, there is a lot of talk that gets thrown around, and I think some supporters were buying into that, and Josh was actually probably copying it.
Yeah, for sure.
People thought, okay, he's gone. I'm hearing Caroline Wilson, I'm hearing Jared Waitley say he's gone for sure, and they were buying into that, and that wasn't good for Josh, wasn't good for his family. I saw a few comments on Facebook that were just like, I couldn't believe what people were saying, because like in my role, my day job as a journalist up in Shepparton, which is not too far away from Seymour, I was hearing some pretty positive things that Josh probably would stay, and it would take something pretty dramatic for him to actually leave the club. He's got the connections there, and it was such a great thing that the club just let him go back to Seymour for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Everyone in the media saw that as just he's gone, he's going away, he's not going to come back, not getting to see any side again.
Yeah.
But it seems like this ideal thing for him. He's gone back home, talked with his family. He's come back to the club refreshed and he's ready to sign.
Yeah, it seems to have worked wonders. But it wasn't just about, Josh going away, because Hugh McCluggage a few weeks before that had actually gone home for a week and had a week at home and done all that. So I think that got a bit misconstrued in how it was communicated out by media outlets. But you're completely right about, buying into too much of what's being said publicly, because I think most of the journos, and not to totally discredit them, but I think a lot of them were just saying it because, it was Brisbane. It's the narrative that's been going on for years, first round picks leaving and whatnot. And
it's a bit of a case of Chinese whispers, really.
Yeah,
one journalist said it and then they were just buying along into that. Oh.
But to your credit, must pay you credit, you were pretty firm and adamant all along that he would be hanging around. So well done to you for sticking to your guns. I must admit, I think there was a point when Caroline Wilson said, he'll be at Richmond. I think I lost a bit of confidence, but I was always optimistic. So very excited that it's come out. I suppose it's worth talking about how it all played out, and I suppose the manager's role in it. How do you see it played out? Because I think the manager made a bit of a hash of things, if I'm honest. And how it was publicly played out, in the media with reports of 5-year deals at Richmond and Collingwood getting involved. And I think the manager, and he is an inexperienced manager, probably got a bit lost.
Yeah, it seems like it was that way, but at the same time, Josh did seem like an easy target. Brisbane seemed like an easy target because he was the only one getting the sort of intense speculation around him at this time of year. But I think the manager probably, if he had his time again, would do things a lot differently. Some of the comments he was saying through the media didn't sound great, to be honest. And fans probably would have seen those comments, read those comments and thought, okay, this doesn't sound good at all. And like you said, those big deals that were spoken about, that's not great at all. But at the same time, Greg Swan actually said in his press conference on Thursday, it might not have been the press conference, but he did say somewhere in the media that
he did.
Yeah, David Trotter, his manager, does deserve a bit of a pat on the back for how he handled things. So maybe there's more that we don't know about, but I think at the same time, even he would probably say, okay, Josh is a young kid, he's only 19. I probably could do things a bit differently, but at the same time, he's signed, and that's all that matters, really. And I'm just glad he's at the club for another couple of years at least.
On that comment that you brought up, that Swan said about Trotter, I also got the feeling that, Swan's not going to come out and say, Trotter's an idiot. Because, A, we've got to go through this with McCluggage next year, the same manager, and B, it's a 2-year contract, so it's going to come up again in the not-too-distant future. So I was a bit, I didn't look too much into that comment. But
no, you're right.
Another factor I did think of in terms of the manager botching it was, I remember, I haven't looked up the news article, but I remember pretty clearly that as soon as Josh was drafted, Brisbane tried to extend him on a multi-year deal, and I think 4 or 5 years might have been thrown around at that time.
Yeah.
So do you think now for Josh to settle for 2 is, sort of cut his arms off a bit, left a lot of money out there? Or do you think this is, a good move for him, reassess the market in 2 years when he should have shown a bit more? We all know that key forwards and key position players take longer to develop. I guess do you see that as a good move, or do you think it's a missed opportunity that he's left money and years on a contract?
Well, now that you say it now, I had totally forgotten about that. But there was that 5-year deal thrown around, and that was serious, and that was fairly decent money for a guy that hadn't really proved himself yet. So he probably has cost himself a bit, and I think at the time, they didn't really want to even talk about it. It wasn't okay. It was a 5-year deal, but we'll just see how it goes at the end of next year when he's out of contract. So 5 years, it would have looked pretty attractive, and he's only settled for another 2-year contract. So he probably has balls it up a bit.
I'll try and find that link to that story for our listeners when I tweet out the pod. But what was I going to say? He did make his
No,
return.
I clearly remember now the 5-year deal.
Yeah, I was pretty sure
Coming
that
up,
was
and
at least
it
4 or 5.
it was 5. I remember because we reported it on in the Shepparton News as well.
Oh
So
yeah, of course. I think before we move on, it is worth noting that it is a big tick for the culture and the I suppose the environment that Fagan and Noble have brought in. That A, he's re-signed for 2 years, and B, he's thrown back offers, big money offers from his home state to be with this group. I think that's a real positive step in the right direction, and probably something that wouldn't have happened a few years ago.
not at all. And really, since 2013, which is really bad, we all know it. We don't have to keep going back on it. But since then, I
We
think
lost
even
H.
under Leper, like we lost Aish, but really, I think we're going to win it out of that long term.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, for Josh to re-sign when everyone was so clear in their mind that he was leaving, it is just huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. And next time a player comes up, I don't think intense speculation will be. Yeah, speculation won't be as intense next time just because Josh has re-signed and everyone went all guns blazing saying he was going. So it's a massive tick for the culture. And Fagan, Noble, we're not inside the club, but all the talk, everything coming out of the club is they're doing a terrific job, and I don't think they can really be doing much more at the moment. And
No, it's really positive.
Obviously a great place to be, despite how we've gone on the field this season. We've had 9 losses in a row, but yeah, the talk was it wasn't a place that it felt like a bottom of the ladder club. It was still positive, and that showed after the weekend.
We'll wrap up the Josh Schache discussion by talking about his comeback. He came back through the NEFL on the weekend in the game. The Lions won 85-80. A late goal from, I think it was Josh Walker that put them in front. We talked off air that we thought it might have all sort of clicked into place once, the contract speculation sort of sorted itself out. But it looks like, statistic-wise anyway, obviously there's not much footage going around of the game. He was pretty quiet again with 6 touches, a behind. I think 5 marks, if I'm reading this correctly. Yeah, 5 marks and a couple of tackles. So wait to hear more from the reports, because I haven't personally seen too much. I don't know if you have, but another quieter game from Josh.
Yeah, we thought maybe with sort of the weight off his shoulders that he might just come out and go bang and get in some really good form. But yeah, that obviously didn't happen, and that just backs up Fagan's call not to bring him straight back into the senior side, because it could have been very easy for him. Okay, he's re-signed now, put him straight back in, but to play him in the NEFL, I think that was a good move. So he's going to take a few more weeks to get back up and going. Had the couple of weeks off. So it was a really high-quality game by all reports. Like you said, there isn't much vision going around, but I think it was a record 43 AFL-listed players on the field, and that is a record for the NEFL. So, yeah, terrific game, and terrific that we were able to win the game too by 5 points. But, yeah, it'll take Josh a few weeks, but he'll get back to that form that we know he's capable of.
The NEFL team is doing very well at the moment. They're in 3rd place behind the Swans reserves team and Sydney Uni, who have a few handy players like Xavier Richards and who's that fella that played in our reserves, our AFL team, for a few years, came from Essendon. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, don't know who you're talking about.
Sorry.
I'm trying to think.
Thinking out loud. He was always, dominating the NEFL with like 30 or 40 touches. He'd come into AFL. It was pretty solid, but, always sort of that step below. Anyway, we're waffling on now. That name will come to me at 1 a.m. tonight. But
yeah, I'm sure it'll come to me as well. I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
not right now.
That's going to annoy me. I was going to say, one of the things that I can't remember if it was reported before the announcement came out that he signed or afterwards, but someone said that he might have, Schache we're talking about, might have played centre half back and sort of got him into the mix. So I'm wondering if that also factored into the output, if he was given more of a defensive pillar. But Who knows? Do you remember hearing that comment? Or
Yeah, I did hear about that. I think it would be a bit silly if he was playing at centre half back though.
yeah,
But yeah, and even if he was playing centre half back to only get 6 possessions wouldn't be great
no.
either way. So
I get the
yeah,
idea to get him involved, but I
yeah,
feel like you'd do that. You'd put him on a wing because he's a pretty
on a wing, yeah,
like the sort of Matthew Richardson wing role that was
Rewalt type role.
yeah, because he's got a good tank and
Yeah,
gets up and down the ground. But yeah. Anything else you want to add for this episode before we wrap it up?
no, just glad we've got a winner on the board and we can bask in that for the whole week.
Yeah, we've got 6 or 7 more days left to enjoy it. So we do have Port Adelaide coming off a loss, a bad loss.
Big
actually.
loss too.
Yeah, that was surprising.
Very bad loss.
So not too hopeful of a repeat victory backing it up at Adelaide Oval, but hope for the best.
And I did see a stat after the game on Saturday night when Port Adelaide lost by 70 points that they're actually the only team in the AFL now that hasn't beaten another team in the top 8. So we were able to beat Freo. They were in the top 8 at the time. So Port Adelaide's one of those funny sides. I think if you give them a sniff, they can play some of the best footy in the AFL.
Yeah,
but at the same time, if they're off a bit, they're gettable to anyone. So they're going to be hungry coming off a pretty woeful performance. But at the same time, if we can bring that same sort of energy that we did on Saturday night, who knows?
Yeah, Port is a huge confidence team. Big downhill skiers, if you ask me. What do you call them? Flat track bullies.
Downhill skiers
Is the word I was looking for. But yeah, hopefully get another win next week. But until then, see you later, mate.
Thanks, Geeks.